Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Thomas's Reading Room number 2. We're reading Through the Eyes. It's a 2-year adventure through America, and we also just kind of letting you know that we're starting production on another book, Through the Eyes, Adventures in the Galaxy. So we're going to be giving you more information as that becomes live and becomes ready. And so we're going to start right now with February 16th, Sunday, Domingo, and that's today. Okay, here we are. Sunday. Awake to a new day with a silent mind, attentively aware brain. The weather seems to give an appearance that the sky is clearing itself of any clouds. Perhaps Susan and I will experience a beautiful sunny day. Susan awakes. We crawl from the sleeping bags and make ready to leave. I start hard and drive to the Tanky Birdie swap meet. This is the first opportunity to generate income since we first came to Tucson. We are early and there are very few dealers present. This is new to me, as many places I've been are usually dealing long before now. I stop at the office where a man walks onto us and I tell him I wish to rent space. He says, that will be $18 for the first session. I hand him $20 and he asks me, do you have smaller change? No. Well, go on in and I will collect later. I drive in, locate a space to occupy, park Howard at the space, then Susan and I gather toiletry items. Lock Howard and walk to the restrooms. Inside, I observe one man cut hair from the head. There is a paper towel that lays on the sink counter, and after he cuts the hair, he lays the cut pieces on the paper towel. I remove the coat, I wear a shirt, undershirt, and begin to wash and shave as it is needed and rewarding. Finished, I dress, walk outside, and wait for Susan. Soon she comes out, and we walk back to the space. Unlocking Howard, we begin to set up, though we observe that no one else is doing likewise. Susan and I put out a table and laid church material on it. Then 2 signs advertising the ordaining of ministers, one at each end of the table. Susan places 2 signs against the back of Howard. One advertises karma and the other gives information on each of the 9 numbers. The karma sign reads, know your karma. There are certain guides to the main objectives sought in any current life. These may have a bearing on the total of karma. Pythagoras of Samos discovered and proved them 24 centuries in the past, so they can scarcely be credited to any nearby corner soothsayer. They are not astrological, they are mathematical. They have sound premise. A given number will designate the thing in one's whole life as a unit that one's spirit is most seeking. Therefore, it seems rational to reflect what one is seeking represents the major deficiency in one's character. In turn, this may indicate the major context of one's karma. Learn how the given numbers are arrived at. Learn the guides to one's objectives. Get one's karma now. Minimum donation, $3. We have little investment, so there is not much to lose and a lot to be gained. After we set the display, I walk to Howard, sit and play the guitar. Susan speaking. A man walks up and asks, isn't a minister allowed to visit people in jail at any time? Or are they limited to the regular visiting hours? I'm not sure of the correct answer. Wait a minute, and I will ask Thomas. I walk over to Thomas and ask the question. Thomas stops playing the guitar and tells me that being a legally ordained minister, a person can visit at times other than the regular visiting hours. The person will have a wall-sized card for identification to present to the person in question. Also, the phone number of the church headquarters is on the card. I walk back to the man and report the information. The man asks me, how much do you charge to ordain someone? $20. I want to think about it a while. I'll probably have to stop at a bank. A half an hour later, I see the man walk towards us. He comes up to me and says, sign me up. He lays a $20 bill on the table. Thomas pulls out an 8.5 by 11-inch credential, a wallet-sized card, and a textbook. I hand him a notepad and ask him to write his name and address so I can send the information to church headquarters. I hand him a donation receipt and we exchange thank yous. It is not later than 9:30 a.m. and already I have ordained someone for the first time. It seems so easy. However, Thomas says there are rare times in a salesperson's life. There seems a general interest in what we have to offer, and the people that walk by are respectful. Later, Susan prepares a couple of sandwiches. I wonder why they are termed sandwiches, sand and witch. This is something we eat. We barely finish the sandwiches when Dan and Steve walk up to us. We greet each other and shake hands. Dan tells Susan and I they went to the Mount campsite, then to Madera Canyon, as he did not get to work last Wednesday. He tells me about some hardships of not being able to work as a carpenter in Tucson. A few people stop by. I put out a sales pitch and one of the three men says, "Sign me up." He places a $20 bill on the table and I proceed to ordain him immediately. It seems not a moment too soon because a woman comes to the man and a friend jokes about being a minister. The woman looks with scorn as the man I have ordained gives her a hug and sidetracks the subject. I guess he slid one by her for the moment. In the meantime, Dan has given Susan money for the A-book. I tell Dan and Steve we are going to Madera Canyon Tuesday, stay until Friday. We continue to enjoy each other's company. Then Dan and Steve leave, saying they might see us at Madera Canyon. I think should we not see them again, we have Dan's address and we'll keep in touch. The gentleman comes to collect the rent. I pay him for the morning and $8 more for the evening session. Susan prepares 2 more sandwiches as I go to a concession stand and get 2 cups of coffee. The weather becomes colder as the evening progresses. It is 9 p.m. and there is hardly anyone here, so Susan and I decide to pack up and find a place to retire for the evening. I drive us to the same vacant gas station we stayed at before and conclude the day. I would die to everything of the day, the yesterdays, and awake to a new day without any thoughts whatsoever. February 17th, Monday. Awake to a knocking sound on the driver's side window. Look into the rearview mirror, I see headlights. I move the curtains and observe a law enforcement officer. "Yes." "Are you just off the highway getting some rest?" "Yes." "Good." He walks back to the car and I move the curtain back in place. However, I do not sleep other than lightly. Looking into the rearview mirror occasionally, I see law enforcement cars drive around the gas station and the lot next to it. 2 law enforcement cars sit behind us for more than an hour. They soon leave only to return in about 15 minutes. I tell Susan we are going to leave, as I am certain we will be imposed upon should we be here until 5 in the morning. I get out of the sleeping bag, start the engine, and drive us to a dirt lot with trees, shrubs, and next to a set of buildings where one of them is a coin-operated laundromat. I shut the engine off and crawl back into the sleeping bag. Later, I wake to a new day. The sun shines, the air is warm. Susan awakes, we get up, and I drive us to the laundromat. We gather dirty laundry and go inside. After washing and drying is over, I drive us to Reed Park to enjoy dinner and write. The day seems simply beautiful. I drive Howard into a small parking area close to a couple of picnic tables, get out and bring the necessary items to fix dinner. First, we write and enjoy a much-deserved day. Then Susan prepares dinner. I begin to experience the day without any thought whatsoever. That beauty that has nothing to do with thought presents itself. A sense of freedom envelops me, and when I attempt to describe it, it vanishes. I'm cherished, full of life, that has nothing to do with thought of any kind. We enjoy dinner. Then I help Susan with dishes and pack boxes. I carry everything back to Howard and put them away. Susan and I get in Howard, and I drive us to a post office. We mail the names and addresses of the people we have ordained into the Universal Life Church. Then I drive to another vacant area with bushes and trees that provide seclusion. Here we decide to spend the evening. I would die to the day, the yesterdays, and awake to a new day without the occupation of any thought whatsoever. I will start the new day with a clear, fresh mind. Tuesday, February 18th, Susan speaking. I sense someone is watching me closely. I open the eyes and realize it is Thomas. The eyelids are heavy, and I cannot look long. When I recognize him, they shut. Later, I open the eyes a few times until I can keep them open. I realize we are in Howard, and it is morning. I stretch and get out. Then I take the sleeping bag and place it on the hood. Thomas has already laid the other sleeping bag there, so I roll both bags as he straightens the inside of Howard. Then I put them away. Thomas speaking. The sun is apparent. I'm charged from its rays. Susan and I get in Howard, and I drive us out of the vacant lot to the post office to find out that the mail still is not there. I get back in Howard and drive us to a restaurant. There we enjoy a cup of hot tea with toast and make use of the restrooms. Soon we leave the restroom and I drive us to a grocery store where we purchase some dish detergent, vegetables, and some bread. We get back in Howard and I drive us to Reed Park, where I park Howard beside a flatbed truck. At a nearby table sits a gentleman eating. There is a water fountain close by, so Susan and I fill a 5-gallon and a 1-gallon container. The gentleman speaks to us. He says, "That is what I used to do." I tell him we're going to the forest, and he begins to talk about his experiences camping, hiking around the immediate vicinity. I take the containers, place them inside Howard, and walk back to where the gentleman sits. Susan walks to Howard, gets an atlas, and brings it over to us. We observe the map of New Mexico and ask plenty of questions where we might stay. The gentleman gives some information, and we enjoy each other's company. That beauty, freedom, is here when thought is not, charging me, bringing me to an all-high. I say, "It has been enjoyable, however we must be going." I tell him that we're traveling for 2 years and why. Susan and I shake hands with the gentleman, then walk back to Howard. We get in, and as I back Howard, I tell the gentleman, "That is an interesting pickup. Is that a 1937? 38. It has a new rear end, 4-speed transmission, and a 283 engine. Oh, it has disc brakes also. I spent 2 years and $2,000 doing all this." He opens a long box that sits on the bed of the truck, lifts out a backpack and says, "See, I'm always ready to go." "Yes, farewell, sir." Howard seems to say, "Hurry, I'm ready to go." We leave Reed Park and I drive us onto I-10, then to 89. I drive on what I think is 89 South, and we're still in town. Then Susan says, "Thomas, do you not want to go south?" "Are we not?" "No, we're heading north." Looking ahead at the tall buildings, I realize she is correct, so I turn a succession of rights, then drive on to 89 again, though south. I drive us to Madera Canyon, where we camped once before. I attempt to drive up that same rutted hill, though Howard is not going for it. He does not seem to have the power. I back down the hill, rev the engine, let the clutch out, and we make a run for it. Howard is close to the top when the muffler catches on a small tree stump and separates from the exhaust pipe. Howard becomes noisy. However, it gives him enough added power to get over the hill. Howard is okay, hangs right in there, and takes us wherever we want to go. I drive to the same site as before, where I back Howard close to the big tree. Susan and I get out and pitch the tent. I bring the cooking equipment, and Susan prepares dinner, then I go search for some wood. I build a fire, and soon dinner is ready. We enjoy potatoes, beets, corn, bread, hot tea. Then after dinner, Susan cleans the dishes. Later, we sit around the fire and discuss the psychological thought processes, then move to Howard and ride approximately 4 hours before we conclude the day. I will die to the day, the yesterdays, and awake to a new day, absent of any thought whatsoever. February 19th, Wednesday. I wake to a new day where I observe that the sun is yet to reveal itself. A worm is busy measuring one edge of the tent roof. Soon the sun makes its debut, casts its rays, and creates shadows of the tree branches, leaves on the tent. Without the yesterdays, I experience these things for the first time. I greet Susan, who is awake, and we get up, go outside, and prepare breakfast. We sit to enjoy cracking good cereal, toast, and hot tea. After breakfast, I gather wood, build a fire, and Susan cleans the dishes. I repair the muffler, and in doing so, discover that the transmission mount is broke. Oh, I remember there is a new part under the back seat, and I think that it might be a new transmission mount. I look at it, and sure it is. So I go ahead and install it. A short time later, we heat water and shower, then take the time to write and discuss thought. Susan prepares an excellent dinner that complements a beautiful day with temperatures in the 70s. After dinner, we sit by the fire, enjoy some popcorn, and conclude the day. I would die to the day, the yesterdays, and awake to a new day. February 20th, Thursday. Awake late in the morning, I dress, crawl out of the tent, and greet the new day. The air is fresh, clean. The smell of the trees is soothing. There's that beauty when thought is not present, that indescribable beauty that knows no thought. Thought enters, and that beauty vanishes instantly. Susan crawls out of the tent and greets me. I build a fire. Susan prepares breakfast, and afterward we go for a walk. Soon we return to talk on psychological thought processes and write much of the day. Toward the end of the day, I build another fire and Susan prepares dinner. We enjoy much food and hot tea. We sit around the fire afterward and enjoy what seems a beautiful evening. Soon the fire burns out and we retire to the tent where we conclude the day. And again I would die to the day, the yesterdays, and awake to a brand new day without the thoughts of the yesterdays for the first time. This is going to conclude this video here, folks. We're stopping and we will continue again very shortly here with the 21st of February, Friday. Okay, so stick around for the next video and thanks, folks.